In the world of music production, I find that gear falls typically into one of three categories. There's gear that is useful, there's gear that is unique, and there's gear that is cheap. But seldom do these points overlap. In a way, it's like those YouTube ads that tell you you can have one MIDI pack that does everything and is so totally sick, bro, and you'll be cooking up so many fuego beats with your Helix mattress after whipping up some fire meals with HelloFresh or something like that. But every once in a while, there's a piece of gear that is useful, affordable, and unique, and that's what I want to share with you here today. Welcome to the Arturia KeyStep Pro. Howdy doody buckaroonies, and welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee with Cameron. Today's episode, as you can probably tell, is going to be all about this thing, which is the Arturia KeyStep Pro. Today, I wanted to share why this might be my favorite MIDI controller that I own. So the KeyStep Pro here is a pretty compact and portable MIDI controller. It's got 37 keys, these cute little stumpy baby keys here. We've got a mod wheel, we've got a pitch wheel, we've got control mode, which we can access with the control button here. That allows these 5 knobs to transmit MIDI CC. In this case, I've got this controlling the filter cutoff of filter 2 inside of Pigments, which you heard a little bit there in the intro. It's got 1 MIDI input and 2 MIDI outputs, and other than that, I think you get the idea. The MIDI controller aspect of this is pretty straightforward, and I would assume you know what to expect there. Where the KeyStep Pro gets particularly interesting, though, is the fact that it's also a 4-channel sequencer. Now, that might not sound all that interesting, but trust me, it's really cool, and that's what we're going to be exploring here today. Each of these tracks has a pattern. The pattern has 16 steps, and you can have 4 sets of 16 steps for a total of 64 steps per pattern. But if you hold the pattern down, we get up to 16 patterns that we can have on each of these 4 tracks. So that's pretty powerful. Each step of every single one of those can have up to 16 note polyphony. There are 3 arpeggiators with 7 modes each and a 5-octave range. Along the top here, we have the 4 voice outputs. We have a gate, velocity / mod, and pitch output for each of these. And for the drum output, we have 8 individual trigger or gate outputs, making this a pretty damn powerful sequencer. We've also got a clock here, in, out, and a reset out. So that's pretty ridiculous. But it gets even cooler, and that's what I want to share with you here today. The KeyStep Pro is available now. It comes in at $499 in US dollars, and if you want to check one out for yourself, you can check out my affiliate link with Perfect Circuit down in the description below. Perfect Circuit is one of my favorite online retailers for picking up gear. They've got really awesome support, so if you pick one up and have questions, they're happy to help. Or if you have questions about other gear purchases, they are more than willing to help you out with that. It's a pretty cool site. You should check it out. And of course, I get a small kickback as well, so it's a way to get some fun new toys and help support ya boy right here. This is probably the most inspiring MIDI controller that I've ever used, and I never thought I would say something like that. But then again, I never thought that a MIDI controller would be all that interesting. I've been meaning to make a video about the KeyStep Pro here for a while because I've had it hanging around my studio for a bit. I first got this when I got in touch with Arturia about a new audio interface, and they sent me the AudioFuse Studio, which is ridiculously cool, and I love that thing. But they said, hey, we'd be happy to send you a MIDI controller as well if you don't have one already. And I already have the Arturia KeyLab 61 Mark II, and I absolutely love that. That is by far the best MIDI controller I've ever owned, and if it ever dies, I'm just going to buy another one. But I said, hey, if possible, I would love to check out the KeyStep Pro because a lot of people have asked me to show it off here on the channel. Originally, I thought they would say no, but they said, yeah, sure, why not? And I was like, okay, awesome, and was super, super excited when this thing came in because Arturia has always been super good to me. They're a really awesome company that make really sick gear, so I knew that this thing was going to be awesome. Rather than just blathering on and on about this, let's actually start firing something up here. So let's set up a tempo at about 85. Let's fire up that metronome. And let's just start doing something. I guess maybe in the key of F minor. So, this is what we've got now on track 1. Let's move over to track 2 and maybe do something on top. And let's maybe extend that out to be 32 steps this time. So 1, 2, 3, and... Cool. Let's move on to track 3. Let's maybe do something a little more ARPy. Sure. Let's do that. 1, 2, here we go. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without some nice bass. So let's slow this part down. We'll divide this in quarter notes. And let's see, what can we do? Sure. Let's actually change that. And now we've got our sequence going. This is pretty cool, but it's maybe not all that interesting. So let's try expanding on this first pattern here. So I'm going to mute these other 3 now. And we can see what notes are coming up here. So, like I said, we can have more patterns. Let's add a second pattern here. Let's get that other stuff behind it. Let's record something here. Let's add a third pattern. And let's go for number 4. So that's pretty straightforward, and I think you get the idea. But let's start expanding on all of this. One of the first things we can do is start having these patterns automatically change, because we could manually change through them using the forward and back buttons here. But maybe that wouldn't be all that useful. And let's, for the sake of making this even more interesting, maybe we'll play with this arpeggiated one a bit. Let's add a new pattern here. Something maybe along those lines. Cool. Now we've got all this going on, and we've got a couple different patterns going, and we could start playing around with this. One of the first things we could do is start chaining these together, like I said. So we're going to hit the chain button, and we've got 4 different patterns here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's enter a chain sequence. Let's do 1, 3, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1. Now, if we take a look, it's going to go 1, 3, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1. And it's going to keep repeating that over and over and over and over and over and over until the end of time. Let's do the same thing here, and let's maybe add a third pattern just to making this a bit more interesting. Let's go up even higher. Sure. Cool. So now we've got 3 patterns here. Let's chain this 1, 3, 2, 3, 1. Cool. So it's going to go 1, 3, 2, 3, back to 1. Now we'll give this a play and we can watch these change. And we've got something a bit more interesting going, making this a pretty good live performance tool, but we can go even further. Check this out. Each of these steps can be edited with a couple different parameters. We have pitch, gate, velocity, time shift, and randomness. So pitch controls pitch, gate controls the gate length, velocity controls velocity. Time shift applies a subtle time offset, allowing you to add some kind of manual swing and groove to things. And randomness controls the probability of that note occurring. So we could go in and just drop the randomness down, or the total chance at the center, it's 50-50. And now we've got a sequence with a bit more randomness going on inside of it. We can also do something new. We can hold shift and apply a randomness offset or any of the other parameter offsets globally. So that's really handy. And then we could go in and adjust these as needed. So now if we watch this, there's a chance of it just not happening at all. We can do that per pattern and in every pattern per step. Where this gets even cooler is we can go in and do something like this. Let's say step 3 here. If we hold this down, we'll see the step length controls here. So 16, 32, 48, 64. What this indicates in this case is loop 1, loop 2, loop 3, and loop 4 respectively. So if I disable this here and here, every time this goes around, it cycles through one loop. So it's going to occur on loop 1. On loop 2, this note will not occur. On loop 3, it will. And loop 4, it will not. So let's do something like that to each of these, and then go into pattern 2 and do the same. And then maybe apply a bit of randomness to that as well. Go into pattern 3, do the same thing once again. Doesn't really matter all that much. Apply a bit of randomness. And now, if we give this a play, it's going to sound a lot more interesting. Let's start doing that to track 3 as well while this is going. And now we've created something a lot more interesting. Let's pop to track 2 and go into art mode. Lay something maybe on top of this. Let's speed that up to 16ths maybe. And back to sequence mode. Let's start messing with that. So from that initial sequence, we've started to generate something even more interesting. Now, let's go in and try something a little bit different. Let's say I have no idea what I want to do. This is where the KeyStep Pro gets pretty fun. So I'm gonna just enter some notes here, maybe here, 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 and here, and this is just gonna play a value of C. So let's enter a rhythm. Let's start applying some step changes here. I think something like that should be kind of fun. Cool. Now, remember, we were in F minor. So what I'm gonna do is hit Shift, and I'm gonna set my scale here to user 1, and my user 1 scale is over here. So let's set this up to be F minor. Or maybe, yeah, we'll go with that. So we've got this, 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 and let's get C. Cool. Now what we can do is Shift and hit random notes. And that's going to choose random notes from my user scale. And we could keep doing this. So let's say that wasn't very cool. Let's randomize again. And let's say this is too low, so let's hit Shift and globally shift those up an octave. And now we've generated a whole new pattern. Let's do that one more time. So let's just enter something. Play with these loop sets a little bit. Cool. So now let's go to our user scale, which is still there. So Shift, random notes, right here. That's a little gross. Not really digging that either. We'll just randomly edit a couple of these steps here. And now we've got something pretty cool. So let's start chaining that together. So we've got 5 in total. So let's do 1, 4, 2, 3, 5, 3, 4, 2, 3. Sure. And now we've got all that going. Start bringing in these other layers. And it's as simple as that, to get an idea going and play with a system of chants that works very well and is very intuitive. Now, splitting this up in the DAW to 4 different instruments would really be a lot more fun, but for the sake of time, we're not gonna mess with that here today. That is the KeyStep Pro, and that is why it is so much fun. Let's maybe even go in here and start messing with this a little bit. Instead of 32 steps, let's make this 31, just so we get a bit of offset. And I think you get the idea. This is a super fun, super inspiring piece of gear, and I would argue it is one of the best investments you can make for your studio if you're at all into playing with things like this. It is endlessly inspiring. It's really fun, it's really easy, and it's just super quick. I feel like I can build so many ideas off this, even when I'm entirely out of inspiration, because this can help me write melodies and gather new ideas and just start creating. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you to Arturia for sending along the KeyStep Pro. Remember to use protection. Tip your servers. Drink your coffee, eat your vegetables. And as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.